Hello, welcome, and thank you for watching this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from Stafford Tarot, and today's Tarot Talk topic is going to be about the different types of readers. Now, before we get into that Tarot Talk discussion, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's new at Stafford Tarot and Soul Intention, and some of the upcoming events to look forward to, and then we'll get into that Tarot Talk topic. And then I'll be offering up to six free short distant remote readings to anyone who shows interest in the chat during the broadcast. So if you're interested to receive one of those free readings and you're watching on the broadcast, just write interested in the chat. I'll try and watch for the messages as they come up as the broadcast continues, and we'll be offering those readings later on. So if you're watching this from my website and you're just wanting to see the sample readings, feel free to skip ahead in the video about 20-30 minutes, as I will be offering those free readings later on in the broadcast. So what's new? Well, as many of you know, Stafford Tarot has incorporated with Soul Intention. I am now the co-owner of Soul Intention. Very exciting. And we're really creating a community of holistic healing. It's really becoming like a spiritual healing hub within Guelph, Ontario. I'm very excited about this. Check out the new shop. It's located at 497 Woolwich Street in Guelph, Ontario. We have weekly services happening every day of the week. For example, Mondays, I'm offering charms, runes, and tarot readings. On Tuesdays, we have our mediumship that's in doing mediumship readings. On Wednesday, we have a Reiki master in the shop who's offering readings. Thursdays, we're going to be having an astrologist come in starting in July. Very excited about that. And then Fridays, we have the Reiki master back. And throughout every day, we accept walk-ins for tarot readings as well as charms and runes. And lots of service providers to choose from beyond that you can make appointments with. And then we have a whole lot of upcoming workshops. So for example, we have on Thursday, June 19th, we have the Suncatcher workshop, which is a child-friendly workshop. It's going to be very exciting. It costs $45 per participant. It starts at 7 o'clock. It's going to run for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Each participant is going to make their own sun catcher. It's going to be great. Then on Saturday, June 21st, we have the Gypsy card readings. This is going to be readings offered to anyone who's interested. They're $25 per 15 minutes. Then on Thursday, June 26th, our Gypsy readers coming back to do a card workshop who's going to be teaching how to work with Lenormand card readings. That's going to be happening on the 26th, starts at 7 p.m. That's $65 a participant. Then on Saturday, July 5th, we have our Divination Collective, where we're going to be having several practitioners come to the shop and just share their techniques. We're going to give readings to each other and just meet like-minded individuals, sort of like a social networking event for divination practitioners. So that's really exciting. I have my Healing Stones workshop that's going to be offered on Thursday, July 10th. And that's going to start at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's $30 per participant, and there's a whole activity that goes along with that. And then, of course, on Saturday, July 12th, we have the astrology workshop. It's $40 a participant, starts at 1 p.m. And, you know, so much. On the Tuesday after that, Tuesday, July 15th, I'm going to be doing my next Tarot Talk live event. Where I will be discussing the topic of the use of crystals within tarot. But tonight's tarot talk topic is about the difference between readers, the different types of readers that you can come up with in this field, or that you can come up and meet in this field. So if anyone's interested in receiving one of those readings afterwards, as I said, just write interested in the chat while we're going here. I'm just going to fix my display here because I noticed my a little hard to see. There we go. Okay, so let's get right into that tarot talk topic. So the different types of readers. The first thing I want to talk about right off the bat is the personal style and demeanor of different readers. At some point, you should, when you meet your reader, you should feel comfortable with that person giving you your reading. If you meet a reader and they don't connect with you, or it just doesn't seem like a good fit, don't get your reading from that person, you can always ask for a referral out, or shop around. There's sometimes markets where you can meet different readers, and that's a great way of networking and just getting to know what's out there. So for example, you might be looking for someone a bit more empathetic and gentle, as opposed to someone who could be more direct and honest with their messages. Whether how interactive they are, or are they declarative in terms of what the messages are about, and is there that energetic connection? A lot of readers feel it important that the reader should make an energetic connection with their sitter, but it really depends on the type of reader you're talking about. For example, like an energy worker versus an intuitive, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the different techniques and spreads that can be used, between the choices of tarot spreads and layouts, card combinations, different decks versus different artistry of the same deck, and then intuitive pulls, how you follow that intuitive sense. All of that really boils down to the personal style of the reader. And what is the focus and specialization of each reader? For example, are they offering just general readings? Can they focus in on certain topics like relationship issues or career, or can you give spiritual guidance? Are you qualified for that? Do you have spreads that can help with self-growth and personal development? Self-discovery, shadow work, lots of different ways that you can implement tarot into these different modalities, as well as, problem solving, decision making. Can the tarot reader help with something like that? There's all sorts of different focuses that can be put into readings, and not all tarot readers will focus on the same things. I'm pretty wide open in terms of my focus or specializations. I offer all sorts of different spreads and layouts to give a variety of options within tarot, and I always allow my sitter to guide the reading. So that's just one other way that you can find a tarot reader that speaks to you. Maybe you don't want that kind of style. Perhaps you'd like someone to be more direct and forceful in the readings, whereas I tend to be a bit more empathic and gentle with my readings, so it just depends. And then, of course, you always have the different reading styles. A psychic tarot reader versus an intuitive tarot reader. Now, the difference between them, sort of similar, but a little different. A psychic tarot reader tends to use the cards to confirm the messages that they're already receiving, whereas an intuitive reader uses the cards to draw out those messages from within. So it's a little different in terms of perspective, but the readings end up with similar experiences, as well as if you have like an analytical tarot reader who can analyze a specific topic or subject into a spread or layout, versus a symbolic tarot reader, which may only focus on the specific symbolisms of the tarot structure, whereas an intuitive reader would follow their intuition. Same as a psychic reader, they would follow the messages that they receive more so than the meanings of the cards themselves. Whereas an analytical or symbolic tarot reader would be focusing extremely on those meanings of the cards themselves, almost like memorizations of what the book of the creator of that deck has detailed, giving that perception of the creator of the deck themselves. And then, of course, there are sometimes professionals use tarot readers within their other modalities of services, such as coaching or therapeutic services, using cards to draw the messages from within, and then being able to work through those messages with their other modalities. Ritualistic readers often use their cards within spellwork or within magic or ceremony. Different cards can represent different times of year or different types of people or different objectives, different goals, different successes. There's many ways in which the tarot can symbolize different parts of ourselves, different situations we're going through, and that can be used within as a magic symbol. Within certain practices. And then you get tarot readers that are more like storytellers. as opposed to a tarot reader that may give you the analytical point of a topic or question that's on the table. A storyteller tarot reader tends to focus on the details as if it is a story, so kind of like following a layout, but also following a structure to the reading that almost comes like across like a story. You can sometimes see this in practical readers, especially with like readers that use Lenormand decks. They're very practical in their messages that are received, and they often come across like storytelling. Um, so the many different approaches and styles that you can see in readers, and which is why it's really important to be sure that you're comfortable with the type of reader that you've chosen for your reading. I don't see anything wrong with getting a consultation, or maybe I always offer free one card impression pulls to anyone who may be interested while I'm at markets, festivals, or while I'm in the store, just so that people can get an idea on the type of reader that I am. Is this a comfortable style for you? Do you like what's being said about that one card impression pull? Now, a one card impression pull is usually just one card that tells me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. And that can sometimes be confirming or be helpful when you get that little bit of information. And then I also offer a 3 card pull with a specific deck for anyone who may be like really curious but don't want to invest just yet. I also give that out for people who say it's their birthday or for anniversaries. I will do a 3 card pull for my heart chakra deck, because in my opinion, that deck gives great insight in terms of what someone needs for themselves. And what better day to find that out than on your birthday or anniversary, right? So I like to offer that out for free. And one of the main reasons I do that is so that I can create that connection with people, so that they can understand the type of reader that I am. And if that style is fits for them, or if that's comfortable for them. Hi, Alex. Thanks for joining. I'm doing well. How about yourself? That's nice that you also draw tarot cards. I'm just reading your message here. You're more on the intuitive side. Absolutely, with the different types of readers, there's no wrong way. There really isn't. Everyone and anyone can follow their instincts, trust their intuition, and do tarot readings in any style that fits for you, for sure. And I can understand building up that confidence first before you can trust yourself to draw out those cards. Um, Absolutely. That takes time and practice. It takes the buildup of that relationship with your deck or with those cards. As you build up that relationship and you get more comfortable with reading or following your intuitive sense, not brushing it off like coincidence, or that, sometimes we can overthink things, make it a little more complicated than what it needs to be. And so just taking your time, learning the cards as you go, and trusting that intuitive sense. What do your instincts tell you? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when that card flips over and you look at the messages that can be received? I often say that the messages are within us, not necessarily in the cards. The cards draw the messages out, which is why my business logo is or slogan is the messages within await. Now that's a really interesting idea, Alex. Thanks for sharing that about using ChatGPT AI to do interpretations of the cards. That's fascinating. We should do a tarot talk topic on that, implementing technology with tarot. That's an interesting topic to think about, and I'm going to consider that for an upcoming tarot talk discussion. Thank you for that. Now, if anyone is watching and you're interested to receive a reading tonight, just let me know, write interested in the chat and send that along, and I will watch for those messages. Um, in the readings that I'm offering tonight, I always start with that 1 card impression pull. This is very similar to what I offer during markets and festivals. Um, and and as well as in the store. And so I always start my readings with that 1 card impression pull. It can be helpful to see where you're at energetically in the moment when we look at the reading and all that's happening. So I'll start with a one card impression pull from that deck, and then I'll move to this deck where you'll get an opportunity to present a question or topic that you'd like me to focus on, or it can be left general. And then I will focus on that and do a 3-card pull, and we'll look at how those messages speak to each other from the cards to gain that message for you. And then we can extend further into another deck. I have a bit of a collection of tarot decks and oracle decks that we can use to confirm or affirm or ask more questions, or I can make suggestions. Quite often, I follow my intuitive sense on what's needed to be heard during the distant remote readings. Now, the difference between a remote reading and a distant remote reading is that in a distant remote reading, there isn't a lot of opportunity for interaction. It's basically I'm receiving your question or topic, and I'm just delivering the messages to you based on that. Whereas a remote reading is more one-on-one, say over a Zoom or a chat video, and you get the opportunity in a remote reading to ask more questions, get more in depth, be more interactive in the reading, even as well as read the cards yourself. But this is more distant remote just because of the technology that we're using, and it's a live broadcast. I can only interact through the chat. So that's the way we're doing it here. Oh, absolutely, Alex. I will add you to the list. Please do. Yes, come visit the shop. Like I said earlier, it's located at 497 Woolwich Street in Guelph, Ontario. We're really building it up into, it's been growing and growing since we opened. And our focus has really been on just connecting and allowing for a place of grounding and healing. Absolutely. I'm just reading your message there, Alex. I will focus on a reading based on that. So I'm going to start with the 1-card impression pull from this deck. And as we go, if anyone else is interested, just let me know and I'll add you to the list and I'll read for you next. Each reading takes about 15 minutes. And so just keep that in mind. So Alex, I'm focusing on you and keeping you in mind as I shuffle this deck and charge this deck with that intention. And what I'm really looking for is just an impression of your energies in the moment. Alex, what I get for you is the Ace of Wands reversed. The card looks like this. It often represents not being able to reveal this new action to take, or this new opportunity could be around you and you're just not taking advantage of or seizing it in the moment. When you do realize this opportunity and the actions that you can take forward, and this card will flip around and you'll be realizing and taking this new action. But in the meantime, it looks like this. It's like it still has to be realized. You still have to find that action that's right for you. What's really interesting about this is your question. Your question was, you starting a new job at a same company, and you're thinking, if you did a good choice. Is that what you mean? If you did a good choice or not? Or can you clarify that a little bit? Because what I find interesting is in your energy now, there's this opportunity around you that you could take action on. Now, I'm going to focus on your question about starting that new job. What I'm going to do is focus on the job generally first, and then if we can extend further into more question. Okay, perfect. I'll keep that in mind. I see your message there, Alex. Whether it was a good choice. Really interesting cards have come out. Now, the first thing I notice about these 3 cards, Alex, is that they're all reversed. So right away, I think that this is a challenging journey. This is a difficult decision for you to contemplate, perhaps, but it does seem to be that there's challenges involved. Now, there are 2 higher arcanas. I do feel like they're speaking together, and so I'm going to get there, but I'm going to start with this practical message first. This is the only suit that appeared so far. It's a 2 of Pentacles reversed. It looks like this in the way that it came out. 2 in numerology is often about a choice, and that's how it's coming across for me because of this these two pentacles here. Now, notice how they're kind of tied together. If I hold the card the right way, just so you can see, they're kind of tied together. It's almost like creating a balance. And this can often be when that stands out for me, that infinity symbol between them, it often is like a cycle that needs to be broken. This could be something within you that needs to change, but the choice itself is about two aspects uh, of prosperity. It's the coins that are really standing out for me in the card itself. And so I see this about you sitting in a position about making a choice between two aspects of prosperity. Now, the two higher arcanas that have come out are the Hierophant card and the Devil card, and they are both reversed. They look like this together in the ways in which they came out. And I'm just going to talk about one at a time. The Hierophant card is often, when it shows up like this, which it didn't, but I think it may be important to explain the meaning of the card before I talk about how it came out. The Hierophant card, when it comes out like this, is often about following some sort of systematic expectation. These are expectations that are put on you to do something a very specific way, and you have to follow through with that sort of systematic approach. When it's reversed, it's almost saying that you're going to do this your own way, that it's your own way of doing this and not following the expectation or that systematic approach. So I do hope that that's helpful and makes sense, because with the Devil card reversed, it often represents defeating some sort of adversary of some kind. Doesn't mean bad or evil, as some people may sometimes get the misconception of. This is really about an adversary of some kind. And when the card comes out like this, it's about being confronted and against that adversary. Sometimes we can be the adversary. Sometimes the adversary is someone else. When it's reversed, it means that adversary has been defeated. So you can now put that past you. If you've already made this decision, I think you may have made a good decision because of this defeated adversary and doing something your own way. That would tell me that this may feel liberating in some way, if that makes sense to you. But there's this balance that needs to be maintained. And so you want to keep that in mind, because it is reversed, meaning that this is a struggle to do, that it's a hard balance to keep focus on, and that could be a challenge. And because all three are reversed, it could be a difficult journey moving forward. But it does seem to be, I think the other choice may have been worse, because you've defeated this adversary and you're starting to do things your own way. Does that make sense for you, Alex? If I look at this reversed, if you didn't make that choice, that may have been confronting the adversary and you'd have to follow the expectations that were put on you. Hi, Megan. Thanks so much. Absolutely. It's nice to see you. I will, Meg Ferris, I will put you on the list. You're next. And anyone else who may be watching, if you're interested to receive a reading during this broadcast, just write interested in the chat and I will add you to the list as well. You're very welcome, Alex. I do see your message there. Now, I am wondering how I can extend on this reading further. Just looking at the different decks that I could offer here. Move this out of the way, sorry. I'm going to look at the energetic interaction of this new position. I think that might be helpful in terms of feeling better about the choice that you've made. So I'm just focusing on your question and topic and the energies of the reading right from the beginning, Alex. And I'm just extending into this deck. I'm going to ask this deck to explain or describe the energetic interaction that's happening in the new job. So really interesting cards have come out. A Higher Arcana, two suits. The two suits are practical messages of the actions that you need to take and what you need for yourself. I'm going to start there before I get into that more important message leading up to that. This is going to be stressful. There's going to be a lot involved in this job. And as you can see here, you've got this little monkey popping the bubble of everything that's going to fall apart. It's almost like there's going to be instigators, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be the juggling of everything. What I really find interesting about this is the difficulty to juggle these aspects of prosperity. And then we have this card showing the extreme juggling that could be going on. Excuse me. This is called the stress card. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be stressful. It's really about how you approach this, how you can maintain it, and how you manage that stress. That's what that card is often about. Seven in numerology, which is the number on that card, is about spiritual development. And the color behind the seven is about fire, which is equivalent to wands in tarot. And so when we have wands of seven, seven wands, it often represents taking the actions that bring spiritual development. And sometimes there's lessons, well, not sometimes, usually there's lessons involved in those kinds of journeys. When it's spiritual development, sometimes we have to go through the struggle or the hard time in order to gain that level of enlightenment. It's like the lessons along the way are more important than the journey of where you're headed, and that's the feeling I get from that card. So hang in there, Alex. I think you got what it takes to do this, or this card would be reversed. It's really about just handling the stress of that. Now, the other card that I want to talk about is the slowdown card. This is often about being aware of the challenges, looking forward for any kinds of dangers, being prepared for what's to come. It uses the depiction of a turtle that needs to cross the beach in order to get to the water. That's an extremely dangerous journey for a turtle. There's lots of dangers. Birds and predators can scoop up that turtle really easily, and that turtle is defenseless until it really reaches the water. So it's really about going at the right time, waiting for the right moment. Is the coast clear? Are the dangers revealed before you can move forward? So just being aware of what's ahead and being aware of what you're in for. I think that will help you well. Take your time, go slow, don't rush through things. Make sure you have all the information, all the details. That's usually the main message around that card. Now, the more important message out of this tarot card pull so far, is the awareness card. This is about you becoming more aware, opening the veil, so to speak, seeing past the facade. I really think that this is going to bring a lot of awareness for you. Again, this is a 7-7 about that spiritual development, and it is an air card, which is equivalent to swords, which is often about the intellectual processes, and you're going to become more aware. There could be things that you need to learn about this, and you're going to open the veil. You're going to release yourself from this being held back. I think that what comes from that card is a lot of clarity being created, and so I think that that speaks well for you, Alex. That I think I see your message there, that there will be a lot of training. That could be the awareness and the going slow, kind of making sure you're aware of what's to come. That could help you with that. Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. Um, I'm glad that you think that it'll be very good for you professionally too. I could see having to put in the hard work to get there. So just make sure that you're putting in that dedicated effort, and keep your confidence up that you can do this, and you have what it takes. It's just going to be a journey. That's going to be a ride. I see your message there as well about feeling held back from your previous job. That may have been the adversary, and why you couldn't do things your own way, right? Why these two cards are reversed. So absolutely. Um, Keep in mind though, was this the balance? Was this the choice that needed to be made moving forward? I think it was. You're very welcome, Alex. Thank you so much for letting me do your reading for you. If you don't have any other questions about this, but the one thing I'm going to note, Alex, is just when I look at this reading as a whole and I look at the different cards that have come up, you have pentacles and you have wands, pentacles with three higher arcana cards. Notice how there's no swords and no cups. I think it's sometimes just as important to look at what doesn't show up as what does, because what does show up are the messages that you needed to hear tonight. And so you needed messages about the actions that you take and the what you need for yourself, but not the heavy thoughts and intellectual processes or the emotions. And I think that's because you understand your emotions, you know how you feel about this, and you also understand the thoughts and intellect that you put into this. And so allow that to be confirming for you, confirmation that you can do this and that you have what it takes moving forward. I do hope that that's helpful. Also, with three higher arcana cards on the table, that's often about communicating to yourself about what's been going on. So just make sure that you listen to your instincts, you follow your intuition, and you'll be fine. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for getting a reading from me. Now, Meg, if you're still on the call, I'll move to you. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to focus on, otherwise it can be left general. And anyone else who might be interested to receive a reading tonight, just let me know in the chat. You can write interested and I will add you to the list and you'll be next. I'm so glad that it was helpful, Alex. You're very welcome. So, Meg, if you're on the call, let me know if you're still there and if you have a question or topic. I should mention as well that sometimes during these broadcasts, there can be a slight delay in which when the messages are entered to the point when I see them pop up. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Meg. General, absolutely, I can do that. So I'm going to start with a one card impression pull. And this one card impression pull is just going to tell me about something in your energy in the moment, Meg. And then I'll move to my Morgan Greer deck where you'll get an opportunity to ask a question, or that general. That's when I'll focus on the general that you've requested. Thank you. I always like to say to people that if you have more than one question or perhaps you're not sure what to really ask, leaving it general often reveals the messages that you needed to hear for yourself. But it's always nice to leave it up to everyone if they want to refine what they're looking for from the reading. So, Meg, I'm just connecting with your energies and charging the deck with that intention. And what I'm basically doing during an impression pull is asking the deck to describe the impression of energies that I get. And for Meg, what I get for you is the Hermit card reversed. I like to call this coming out of the shell card because it's really about no longer being the introverted, starting to bring yourself out on the outside, starting to share with the people around you as opposed to keeping it all to yourself. If the card was this way, it would be about keeping it all to yourself, going introverted, staying remote, not connecting with the people around you. So just know that there's this opening. I get this sense of this, that you've turned this card around, that you were being introverted and now you're opening up of some kind. Let me know if that makes sense to you, Meg. And I'm going to move to this deck for the 3-card pull that's going to talk about the general reading that needs to come to the surface. And so 3 cards, very interesting, have come out. 2 of them are higher arcana, 1 of them is a suit. This is a cup. The cups are often about emotions in tarot, and so I'm going to talk about that. And then we'll move towards these more important messages. Now, this is what I like to call the what if card. When it comes out like this, is you start to get into this contemplative mode, like what if? What if I made this change differently? Or what if I decided something differently? Or what if I chose that before? Where would I be now? Or what would I have now? It uses the depictions of somebody who's analyzing their cups. You can see the 3 cups here where they have what it takes. And you can see them, they're very earthy, very grounded, very connected to themselves. And there's this other cup that's being presented coming out of the clouds, almost like, what if? And when it's reversed, it's basically saying, cut that out. Like you're done saying what if. You're now accepting the things that you have for yourself. And it's about the process of that, of accepting the emotions and the what you have for yourself emotionally. Now, the 2 higher arcana cards are really interesting. We have the Strength card and the Chariot card. Now, with these 2 cards speaking together, I'm going to talk about them together, okay? Because the Chariot card is often about getting to the race, getting on the go. You know, nothing's going to stop you. You have everything it takes to get moving. You just have to do it. You have to put in the effort. You have to put in the dedication, just like a chariot driver. If you think of the chariot driver, if he had a broken horse or a broken wheel, or he had a sick horse, this card would be reversed and he would have to resolve the challenges in order to get into that race, in order to complete the goal or get to the destination. And so just know that your card came up upright, which means you have what it takes. You can do this. You can get into the race. You just need to steer and drive and go. Now, the strength card is really interesting with this card together, and this is why I want to speak about them together, because the strength card is about having internal strength. It's about being incredibly strong for yourself. And if this card's reversed, it means you're still strong, but you don't realize your own potential and how strong you are. So just know that the card did come out this way. You understand this strength. You understand, you've at least seen a glimpse of it, and you know you can utilize this strength when you need to. And with these two cards being together, utilizing this strength and getting to the task and off to the journey and winning the race, I would see this as a very powerful message of confidence, of security, of being able. It's no wonder you're stopped saying what if with that going on. Now, when I bring this reading back to where you are now, it also makes sense to me that you're no longer being introverted. You're starting to express yourself. I think you're starting to realize this strength and that you can utilize that for yourself. Let me know if this makes sense for you, Meg. Oh, there. Thank you so much. Absolutely true. Thank you for that confirmation. I am wondering how I can extend on this reading further. Perhaps I can look into my heart chakra deck that I mentioned earlier. As I said earlier in the broadcast, this deck gives great insight in terms of what someone needs for themselves. And if I apply that to this reading, it may give good advice moving forward. So I'm just going to focus on that and charge the deck with that intention. Oh, thank you for that confirmation, Meg, that this is so accurate, that you've been experiencing a real shift in yourself over the past year. It sounds to me like a big enlightenment, but it does seem like a realization of what's already been there, because the strength card does not appear on the table for someone who doesn't have that strength. And I'm not talking like physical strength. You know, she doesn't have that lion in a headlock. She's basically taming that lion with her inner strength, and that's what I'm talking about here. Okay, I feel like intuitively the cards are ready here, so we're just going to cut the deck and get started. Now, 3 cards come out reversed. Really interesting, because this was advice moving forward, and so this may not be the easiest advice to follow, okay? But I love the messages that are being brought to me right from a first perspective. And so I'm just going to follow through with that. Oh, hi, Elizabeth. Nice to see you too. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you'd like a free reading. You could go next if you'd like. I can add you to the list. So Meg, I'm going to start with the practical card and move to those 2 higher arcana cards that came out, because I feel like that's more important, and I'll work my way there. This is the spread your wings card reversed. You're already spreading your wings. You don't need to spread your wings. This is like, you know, this is going to come easy for you, like true potential. It's not something that you have to discover. It's something you already know. And I love that message for you, just given how this has come out with the strength and the chariot, no longer saying what if. Perhaps this what if was questioning yourself, and you're no longer doing that, because you got what it takes. You don't have to it's saying, you know, just trust the flow, follow the journey, you know, that kind of comes from that card. Now, the 2 reversed higher arcana are really interesting, because we have the blossom card and the release card. Now, you still have some blossoming to go. I think that you're realizing this true potential for yourself, and that's why the blossom card, you can notice here when the card's upright, that when you do reach your full potential, you're going to be blossoming in your own right. Like, look how powerful the person is on the card themselves, because they understand their energy and this is their enlightenment. Because it's reversed doesn't mean that there isn't going to be that blossoming. It means that you're on the cusp, or that there's things you need to do first, or the challenge that you have moving forward and needs to be resolved, and then that card will flip around and you'll realize that blossoming. Same as this card. Don't look at this like you have to release something. Hold on to those parts of yourself. Don't let anyone tell you that something's not right or needs to be changed. Don't let go. Sometimes it's the challenges that we've faced that lead to discovery or enlightenment or developmental progress. Um, so we can't like sever ourselves completely from those negative experiences. Sometimes we have to make them a part of ourselves and move forward and grow. That's how this feels. It's almost like all the experience that you've built up and acknowledged um, is going to serve you well. I do hope that this is helpful, Meg, and that it makes sense. Let me know if you have any last questions. When I look at this reading as a whole, you have four higher arcanas, which are often about creating grounding and structure for yourself. Two are reversed, two are not, and so that often represents contemplating about that grounding and structure, making decisions for yourself moving forward that bring that grounding. Also, you have cups, and cups are the only suit appearing on the table so far. And what that tells me is this is all about emotion. You understand your thoughts, you're taking the right actions, you know what you need for yourself. The messages you needed to hear today were all about emotions. So keep that in mind. As long as you keep track of those emotions, I think that'll serve you well. Allow your heart to guide you forward. That's probably your best advantage. And you know, follow, just you know, it sounds like you just need to be you. I do hope this is helpful. So I'll put the cards away unless there's other questions. I'm just reading. Oh, thank you for that feedback, Meg. That this is great. It affirms your recent thoughts and experiences. Absolutely. Sometimes tarot can be just affirming if you already feel like you understand and have knew these messages, or you're not receiving anything new in the messages or in the tarot reading. Take that as confirmation. You know, quite often when we can understand the messages and what it's getting at, that you know we're on the right track ourselves. Okay, Elizabeth, if you're ready, I can move to you next. Let me know if you have a topic or question that you would like me to focus on. Otherwise, it can be left general. Quite often when readings are left general, the messages that you need to hear are what come up, but it's up to you if you want to try and refine what you're looking for from the reading session itself. You're very welcome, Meg. Thank you so much for getting a reading from me. Oh, I'll definitely do a general reading. Thank you for that message there. That the video is a bit choppy. You know, I've had some technological problems with these broadcasts, so don't blame yourself. It could be me. I do hope that it's that I'm able to be understood and that I can be heard fine. Let me know if you're having any trouble making out what I'm saying, or if I need to repeat myself. Okay. And I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure why sometimes there's technical challenges. You know, last time, actually last month, my broadcast just cut off. Right when I finished the last reading, I lost battery power. So I never know what's going to happen on these broadcasts. You just kind of have to wing it, go with the flow. Okay. Okay, Elizabeth, I am focusing on you, and I'm asking this deck for an impression of your energies, and then I'll move to my Morgan Greer deck to focus on that general reading. What I get for you, Elizabeth, is the Five of Wands reversed. Five in numerology is usually a pivotal point or a halfway point where decisions have to be made. You have to make a choice for yourself. I like to look at 5 in a numerological sense as a journey from 0 to 10. When you get to 5, you have just as much effort and distance to continue on that journey to the destination as you do as turning around and going back to the beginning, to the drawing board. So it's really about what is in your best interest. Is it in your best interest to continue to the end, or is it best interest to go back to the beginning? It's about making that choice, a pivotal moment. And with wands, it's about actions that you have to take for yourself. So when we get to that pivotal moment with actions, quite often we can feel like our actions are up against other people's actions, and you have to sort of decide how you move forward. And that's what the card represents. When it's this way, it's about your actions being up against other people's actions. You can see here everyone is equally as involved trying to get past or trying to get their actions across. When it's reversed, it means that you may have avoided this confrontation of some kind. Your actions didn't end up being against all these other actions in some way. I almost feel like based on the actions that you've taken, you've made the choice somehow to avoid this confrontation of some kind. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay, Elizabeth? And I'll focus on that general reading. So I'm just going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we'll just look at how those cards speak to each other to get the message. And then we can extend further into another deck, depending on where we want to take the reading. Oh, thank you for that confirmation, Elizabeth, that this definitely makes sense. I appreciate that. So 3 cards, all suits, which means these are all more practical messages for you, Elizabeth. I'm going to start from this side and work my way across. I just feel drawn to the messages in that way. This is the 9 of Cups. 9 in numerology is how we reach that end goal. What's the destination? And cups represent emotion in tarot. And so when we reach the destination with emotions, it's often a journey in itself. It's about organizing your emotions so that you understand yourself really well. And when the card is reversed in the way that it's come out for you, it means that you're still in the process of organizing these emotions. Your cups aren't necessarily in a row just yet. Now, when you do go through that process and you do finish sort of the investigating or the analyzation that you're doing in regards to emotions, that's when this card flips around and you're like this guy where you have all your cups in a row. You can see them on the back table there behind him. He's organized his emotions. This means that if I gave him a hypothetical question, he would understand exactly how he would feel based on those details because he understands his emotions really well. When it's reversed, it doesn't mean you don't understand your emotions, Elizabeth. It just means you're still in the process of working through some of those cups. Some of the advice that goes with this card is if you separate your cups into individual compartments, it can then make it a little easier and not so overwhelming. You can start to feel like you get somewhere when you work through that emotion, and then you start seeing progress, as opposed to taking it all on at once can be overwhelming. So just make sure that you're doing what you need for you, that you take the time that you need to do this. This is often a journey in itself, but just know that you're in the process of organizing these emotions. The King of Rods reversed. Wands represent actions to be taken in tarot, and kings are decision makers. Now, the difference between kings and queens in the tarot court is that queens tend to be more nurturing, caring, and they affect the people around you, whereas kings tend to be more direct, focused, and there are often consequences involved in these kinds of decisions. And when it's reversed, it often represents not being able to decide for yourself the actions that you need to take. You need missing information, or there's some sort of challenge that needs to be resolved first, and that's when the King's card will flip around. You'll sit in this throne to make those decisions in terms of the actions you need to take. But in the meantime, it looks like this. Something has to be resolved first before you can sit in that throne to make those decisions. Now, this brings us to the Six of Wands is our next card. And what I love about this is it's the card that did not come out reversed in this tarot reading. And what it represents often is when we take action to interact with others. 6 in numerology is how we interact with others, and the actions and passions come from the wand symbol of the tarot. And with this card, it's often about reflecting on how you've interacted. What are the actions you've taken? And what's really standing out for me in the card is how the wand that the main person is holding has a reef on it. And that's often about celebrating ourselves, being proud of the actions that you've taken. And this is suggesting that you need to celebrate that for yourself. You need to look back at the actions that you've taken for yourself to get you where you are today and celebrate that. Give yourself a pat on the back or celebrate yourself in some way that shows an acknowledgement of the things that you've done to get you where you are now. Quite often, this card comes up for someone who doesn't celebrate themselves. That you may be, you may be the type of person that puts everyone else ahead of your own, and so just keep that in mind. That I don't think you want to do that. I think you want to be sure that you are celebrating yourself for what you've done and the actions that you've taken to get you where you are today. I do hope that this makes sense and is helpful, Elizabeth. When I bring this back to where you are now with this confrontation or actions against actions that may have been avoided or prevented, um, maybe there's something in that that needs to be celebrated in itself. Now, I am wondering how I can extend further into another deck. Do you have a question or topic that we can look at in terms of what's come on the table that we can expand on, or I can make a suggestion? This does seem like quite the developmental journey and the enlightenment. It seems like you're on this role or on this path of enlightenment. Um, I'm wondering if I can use my shamanic deck. My shamanic deck really works in the sense of like energies and the type of energies that are around you, and what's involved here is what I could focus on. Thinking about career, absolutely. Let me change my focus a little. What I'll do is I'll pull one card from this deck in regards to this enlightenment that you're going through, and then I'll pull one more card from another deck in regards to career. And it's the magic card reversed. Now, just because it's reversed doesn't necessarily mean negative. It means that there's potential. There's potential for magic around you. There's potential for this to be a magical journey. What I love about this card, 33 in numerology breaks down to 3. If you think about 33 as a master number, it is the student of communication. So it's really about learning to communicate with yourself. Perhaps you're not listening to your instincts, and that's why the magic card is reversed. And so just know that that potential is there, that you can put your intention out or your desire out for it to be manifested and have that return to you. And that's when the card flips around, when you believe, when you have that intention, when you create the magic. The card looks like this. In the meantime, it has to be discovered, and that's why it's come out reversed. I think that that's a great card for you because there seems to be this enlightening, this developmental journey that's still in progress, and it leads to this great potential. Now, I'm going to look at my pagan deck because my pagan deck gives great aspects of interaction or balance that needs to be created, and I'm going to focus on that for the career um, question that you were looking at. So I'm just focusing on career, and 2 cards flew out, and I can't ignore that. There are no coincidences in tarot, and so I have to follow through with both of those cards, okay? Really interesting. They are both higher arcana cards, so I feel like these are really important messages for you to receive, Elizabeth, and they are regarding career. The Judgment card and the Devil card. This is what the 2 cards look like. Now, I'll go card by card. The Devil card is often about sorting through your adversaries. It's really about understanding your shadows, of yourself, understanding the conflicts that happen internally. It's suggesting in this card that you could do some journaling or shadow work exercises to work through those shadows, to take on those adversaries. This is often adversaries within us, and sometimes that can be based on um, like um, generational traumas, or I'm just getting a sense that this has been something that's been going on, maybe repetitive, possibly through generational trauma, or perhaps a repetitive thing for yourself in your life. But it's about taking that on and abolishing it. It's about taking on that adversary and finding ways of getting through that challenge. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. When I start getting into talking, I get a dry throat. Pardon me. The next card that I want to talk about, Elizabeth, is the Judgment card. It's often about the judgments that we put on ourselves. There are certain things that we go through that can affect us as we go through life. Um, Sometimes those are experiences that we have in this life, where we have maybe a childhood experience or experience growing up that our brain just goes, not doing that again, and we create these red flags for ourselves, that we gain anxiety or anxious about, in order to make sure that that doesn't happen again. If we have traumas from previous lives, that can also inflict us in this life, and it gives explanation for things that don't make sense. Say if you didn't have an experience of your life to be scared of that specific thing, and yet you're scared of that specific thing, it can often be connected to, if you believe in reincarnation, with past life regression. And that's what this card often represents. And what's really standing out for me is sort of the vision that you can see on the top, and as this past life regression session is taking place. I think that there's some interconnections that you need to work through, and watch that you're not judgmental on yourself, that you're not too hard on yourself in terms of how you handle this or the ways in which you move forward, especially with those internal adversaries. With these two cards being side by side, this heavy judgment that could be placed on yourself, and then these adversaries that are internal, I have a feeling that they're connected. So that adversary, the judgment may be the adversary perhaps, but just make sure that you're not being too hard on yourself. Give yourself a break. Allow yourself some empathy. Give yourself that consideration for what you've been through, and keep in mind that you do need to celebrate the actions that you've taken that have led you to where you are now. I do hope that this is helpful, Elizabeth. Let me know. I like the message there, definitely makes sense. Let me know if there's any questions or anything that didn't quite fit out of this. Otherwise, I do hope it's helpful. Thank you so much for everyone who received readings from me. I really appreciate it. I'm just reading the message there. Well, quite often cards that jump out are normal. It's just the messages that need to be heard for yourself. And so I call them jumper cards. I did an actual whole entire tarot talk topic on jumper cards in a previous talk. If you want to look back on my website, staffordtarot.com, you can look into those previous recordings and broadcasts. And one of them is actually specifically on jumper cards, and it'll explain the process of that and why they're not necessarily connected to coincidence. Thank you so much. I do appreciate everybody who's joined me on this Tarot Talk Live event. Please join me for the next one that'll be happening Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. It'll start at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And at that Tarot Talk, we're going to discuss how crystals can be implemented into tarot readings. What are the uses of crystals within tarot, and how they can be utilized. Thank you so much. Take good care always, and blessed be. Check out my new shop. You can go to the website www.soulintention1111.ca. Stafford Tarot's website is staffordtarot.com. I'm Bryan Stafford, the intuitive reader, and looking forward to the next time we can connect and share readings and just talk. Thanks for joining my tarot talk this month. Please join me on July 15th for the next one. I will also have draws happening between now and then, so watch my website for those draw dates, as well as the new moon and full moon oracle card pulls. That also will be available on my website, staffordtarot.com, as well as soulintention1111.ca. You're very welcome, Elizabeth, and thank you so much for everyone who's joined. Check out next time. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.